Hello everyone, this will be the 16th chapter of The Second Life of the Guardian, written and read by Insect Overlord. This chapter is titled Tiki the Chaos Goblin, and has content warnings for animal death. The December after Izuku turned 7, something happened. It was a Saturday, but Hisashi had work in the morning anyway. Izuku was cooking lunch with his mom when his dad came home. He called out the customary, "I'm home," and all Izuku could think was, him. I was having so much fun hanging out with just Mom. I wish he would go away. When suddenly there was a burst of light and a red and black knife appeared in his hands. His mom stopped stirring the soup, and his dad froze from where he was taking off his shoes. Izuku looked first at his mom, then at his dad, where he saw an achingly familiar red and black pattern overlay his heart and head. Was he supposed to throw the knife at his dad? He was the root of Izuku's current problem, but no, he shouldn't. That would be mean. "Was that your Quirk?" his dad shrieked. The sound startled Izuku, and he reflexively threw the knife anyway. Oops. Lucky for his mom's new rug, the knife did not embed itself in the man. Instead, he ducked with suspiciously quick reflexes. The twang of the knife against the wall reverberated through the otherwise silent room. "Sorry, you scared me." Izuku rushed out an apology. His words broke the tension, and his mom scrambled forwards, gripping his shoulders, while his dad studied the knife and the large hole it had left. "Izuku, you got your Quirk. That's amazing, honey," his mom gushed. "This is a high-quality knife, Izuku," his dad commented, inspecting the item with one hand, the other resting on his chin. Izuku started sweating. He may or may not have had a knife phase as Marinette. He was spared from having to answer by the knife disappearing with a flash, the hole in the wall mending itself at the same time, leaving only a small scratch. His dad ran a finger over the spot, mumbling out, "Fascinating." "Izuku, this is amazing," his mom cried, still clutching his shoulders. "Yeah," he mumbled back. His mom frowned. "What's wrong, baby? Aren't you happy to get a Quirk?" It wasn't that he wasn't happy, it was just that Izuku's mind was elsewhere. He was questioning why, and more importantly, how his Quirk resembled his powers as Ladybug. Even after 7 years, Izuku couldn't remember how he died. He remembered the Akuma and Cat Noir's betrayal, but after that, nothing. Maybe that memory was the key to understanding the mystery that was his newly manifested Quirk. Izuku shook his head and answered his mom's question. "No, I am happy, I mean. This is just a lot." His mom smiled in understanding, before stepping back and clapping her hands together. "We should celebrate," she cheered. "Let's go to the pet shop. We can get you another beta to keep Fish company." Fish was what Izuku had named the fish he won at the festival. He wasn't good with names, okay? He had chosen the hero name Ladybug, for crying out loud. "Mom, beta fish don't like company." Izuku shook his head, amused. "Then we'll just have to get the new one their own bowl. Come on, it'll be fun." She clapped her hands in excitement. The family ate their slightly burnt lunch quickly, before heading out into the cold December air. Izuku's parents bundled him up in winter clothes to the point where he felt like a stuffed turkey with how it made him waddle around. The specific store they went to must have been having some kind of event, because the place was packed. It felt like every kid in the neighborhood was there, and Izuku was overwhelmed. Lucky for him, his parents had come prepared with noise-canceling headphones, but he still had to deal with 20 other kids pressed up against him. The pet store had partnered with a local animal shelter, and there were so many cats. Izuku made his way through one of the smaller crowds and found an adult holding a brown tabby. There were 5 children around her petting the fluffy animal, and Izuku joined them. He had been missing Suzanne recently, and petting another cat would soothe the ache in his chest. Izuku decided to see if he could summon specific items with his Quirk. When he was Ladybug, his lucky charm was only ever what the magic decided would help him the best. He had never tried to summon it outside of life or death situations. He wondered what would happen. Izuku held his hand out and thought of a cat brush. There was a flash, and he looked down to see a normal human brush in his hand. Close enough. He could work on that later. Izuku started brushing the cat, who purred happily. Izuku scratched under her chin, which caused her to rumble harder. Then there was a cracking noise, and the cat started to yowl. Izuku watched in horror as her body turned into a bloody mess of dust before his eyes. There was a moment of shocked silence before the kids around Izuku started screaming. The volume was almost too much for him, even with his headphones, and he whipped his head around, searching for his parents. Izuku spotted his dad and ran towards him. He held his hands out to grab his shirt, but before he could, his dad gently caught his shoulder and ran a hand through his hair in a soothing motion. Izuku was hit with a wave of weariness, and he fainted. He never got to pick out his fish. When Izuku woke up, he was tucked in his bed and had a wet washcloth on his forehead. He felt both sweaty and cold. He heard his parents talking in heated voices outside his door, but couldn't make out the words. Through a haze of fever, he thought he saw a tiny ladybug land on his bedpost. His bedroom door opened, and his mom walked in. "Izuku, baby." She crouched by his bed. Izuku moved his head slowly to look at her face. "How are you feeling?" At those words, Izuku was reminded of the events from a few hours earlier. His breath hitched, and he frantically asked, "The cat, Mom! Where's the cat?" His mom shushed him and ran a hand through his sweaty green curls. "It's okay. The cat is just fine, Izuku. Don't worry." She tried to comfort him, but Izuku had seen her turn into a pile of bloody dust before his eyes. He didn't want her empty platitudes. "They're not empty," she reassured. Had Izuku said that out loud? Kwame, he must be really feverish. "The cat really is okay. All thanks to you, Izuku." She planted a kiss to his temple. "When the brush you made disappeared, the cat came back with only a small scar. I don't know how, but I think your quirk can reverse other quirks," she continued, sounding proud. "You did good, Izuku." "Oh, his mom said he did good. Okay, if his mom said things were all right, he didn't have to worry." He put his trust in his mom's words and drifted back to sleep. When Izuku awoke again, his window was dark, and the only light in his room was a small All Might-themed nightlight in the corner. He must have missed dinner. He sat up and rubbed his eyes, reaching over Fish's bowl to his lamp to turn it on, which cast his room in a soft, warm orange glow. He felt a lot better than before. That was when Izuku noticed the ladybug still resting on his bedpost. So he hadn't imagined that. "Are you feeling better, Marinette, or do you prefer Izuku?" The bug spoke. Izuku opened his mouth to shriek before quietly covering it with his hands when the words caught up to him. "Tiki?" he hissed out, incredulous. Was he hallucinating? Maybe he wasn't as better as he thought he was. "Yes, it's me. It's good to see you again," she gushed. Izuku's eyes began to water. "Tiki, how are you here? Actually, how am I here? Did you cross dimensions just to see me?" Izuku rushed out his questions one after another. Tiki tilted her head, as much as a ladybug could anyway, and answered. "What do you mean? This is the same dimension." Izuku's mind ground to a halt. What did she mean, the same dimension? Everyone literally had superpowers here. What could have changed between Marinette's death and Izuku's birth that would have caused that? Tiki must have seen his baffled look, because she commented, "Is it the superpowers? Because I promise there's a good reason for that." She sounded a bit guilty. Oh no, what did she do? "Explain," he demanded firmly, but not unkindly. "Geez, fine. When had Tiki gotten so snarky?" "Well, after you released us all from our jewelry, the Kwame and I what?" Izuku cut her off. Tiki blinked up at him. "You don't remember? Oh, Gami must have blocked that memory as a joke. They thought your wish was hilarious, though personally, I can't see why." She mumbled the last part. What was Tiki even saying? "Tiki, please, help me out here. I have no idea what you're talking about. Start from the beginning," Izuku asked slowly. Did Tiki used to be this rambly? Izuku thought that was his thing. "Right, sorry," she apologized. "So, on your last day, you made a wish with mine and Plag's Miraculous." "No, stop." She held out a tiny hand. "It was your only option, and we don't blame you. Actually, we should be thanking you, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, You wished to release all the Kwami from their jewelry and offered your life and soul in return. Gami, the Kwami of everything, thought you were being dramatic because a wish like that wouldn't cost that much. It would restore order, not disrupt anything. Izuku, who had a clear head compared to mid-battle Marinette, silently scolded his past self. With how Tiki explained it, it should have been obvious to her. And anyway, Tiki continued, Gami already manages all of Earth's souls, so technically they already had your soul. After you died, the Kwame and I did a little sightseeing around the world. Plag and I visited Antarctica. It was amazing, she reminisced. But after a few years, we got a little bored. Yeah, it sucked to be bound to jewelry and forced to work for humans, but at least we were doing something with our powers. Even the Kwami who had morally evil holders would get a rush whenever their power was used. Oh no, Izuku could see where she was going with this. So, she drew out the word, we got together and decided to bless humankind. She ended her speech with a twirl. Tiki, Izuku groaned. That's incredibly irresponsible. You were always the one lecturing me about using my powers for the greater good, he accused, pointing his finger at the bug. Tiki only giggled. Who do you think created the concept of the greater good? I can do no wrong. Izuku took it all back. Tiki was a chaos goblin through and through. What about my quirk? It's pretty much the same as my ladybug powers, Izuku commented. Tiki flew up and booped his nose. Plag and I blessed you personally. Even if you aren't ladybug anymore, you're still my bug, and I want to make you happy. Izuku's heart warmed at her words. Then his face paled as he fully processed them. Wait, you and Plag? I have 2 quirks? Was that me who killed that cat today? He was starting to panic. He had assumed it was someone else. 5 other kids were petting her when it happened. What if it wasn't one of them, but Izuku? He reached his hand out and grabbed his blanket with both hands. He had to see, had to know. Nothing happened. Izuku breathed a sigh of relief. What do you mean, Bug? Tiki buzzed about worriedly. Izuku tried to calm his racing heart. Someone accidentally turned a cat to dust at this pet shop I went to today. I thought it might have been me if Plag gave me his cataclysm. Well, I don't see Plag's destruction inside of you, so it must still be dormant. It took you a long time to manifest my creation, and you are already familiar with that magic. It will probably take longer for Plag's, Tiki reassured him. Izuku was just glad it hadn't been him, though he felt bad for whoever's fault it was. They must feel horrible. Izuku and Tiki talked for a while after that. Tiki had 200 years' worth of gossip to catch him up on, after all. When she started to run out of things to say, Izuku's stomach grumbled. Sorry, I skipped dinner, he blushed. I can get you a snack, Tiki offered, but Izuku shook his head. I can get one myself. Besides, I want to show you something. His voice took on a mischievous tone. He was going to show Tiki his Anon persona. This concludes Chapter 16 of The Second Life of the Guardian. I've been waiting to do this chapter since the very beginning, when I got the idea of where quirks could have come from. That was basically what started this whole thing. Also, if you thought Tiki acted out of character, I want to point you back to the episode Dearest Family. Tiki is a chaos goblin through and through, and I will die on this hill. Also, if you have any theories, I'd love to hear them, because I did set up for at least 3 other plot points in this chapter. Anyways, the next chapter should be up soon. Thank you so much for listening.